Hi everyone, this is Justin back with an engineer's perspective, and today I'm going to go over what is my favorite EDC knife. I'm honestly going into this not 100% sure I can narrow it down to one single one, but I'm going to do my best as we go. Right off the bat, I'm going to go through some exclusions. So I'm not going to be talking about full functioning Leathermans. The only one I consider to be an EDC knife is the Skeletool. Not going to be talking about non-locking knives, even though there would be one or two that would definitely be in the running. I finally found my GEC the other day, so that's good. So those are out for the discussion. And also small knives, small fixed blades like this Carter cutlery are not going to be in the discussion. This isn't my full, I don't like to use the word collection because I don't collect knives, I use them. But these are the ones that are even in the consideration for the running at all. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through and eliminate them out as like a definitely not, or definitely is my favorite. And we'll just see where that gets us. So I guess I'll start in the top right corner here. So Manix 2 lightweight in Maximate. I bought this one second hand. It somehow came with this deep carry wire pocket clip. No idea where it came from, but it makes it way more awesome. This is the second Manix 2 lightweight. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is this is probably around 50 to 75% of the knives that I have owned. I've bought and sold many, including a lot of Benchmades, mini and large griptilians of different varieties, different Bugout. I've had other Delicas, Enduras, other Manixes, probably other ones I'm not remembering, but there's a lot of other knives that have been in the running that have come and go. But yeah, so Manix 2 lightweight. If you're curious as to the shape of my hand, it is exactly that of the Manix. Oh, it just fits perfectly in my hand. Maximate, I like it. I'm not sure I love it. Still, the jury's still out. The geometry is a little bit thick on the Manixes from my experience. They seem to come thicker than like the paramilitaries and para 3s. So that's a knock against them. One of the things that's very important to me is awesome steel and awesome geometry. Those are the two most important things. So because this has awesome steel and it's very functional and fits my hand, I'm going to leave it in. Next up is a knifewear, Knife Center exclusive Manix 2 G10 with a smooth, and it's in CPM Crewwear. I had this one reground by Murray Carter at Carter Cutlery. It was like, I don't know, 23 thousandths at 17 degrees per side. It is now about 8 thousandths or so, 5 or 8 thousandths at 12 or 15 degrees per side, in that ballpark, 12 to 14. It is a mind-blowing slicer. I really like Crewwear. For a while, I thought it was definitely my favorite. It may just be, I'm still deciding, but this one is probably going to be in the end running, so I'm going to leave that one there. So next up is my first high-end Spyderco, the Paramilitary 2, my first one, an S35 VN. You know, this was it's more of a knife I keep around for sentimental value. I don't really like S35 VN that much. I think it's just fine. I think they did an okay job on the heat treat. The action is just fine. It's just fine. It's a good work knife, especially if you're looking for stainlessness, but that one's out, so I'll put it over in the out pile. Here's the next Paramilitary 2 I got. This is a knifewear exclusive in M4 and carbon fiber. This thing is like the epitome of paramilitary to perfection. Perfect lineup here, or matchup, fit and finish. The action is perfectly tight in every direction. It is buttery smooth, drop shutty. Detent is great. This is like perfection. I've done way more experimenting on sharpening on this knife than I should have, but you know, I did. So that's definitely a keeper. Now we've got the next paramilitary 2 I got. This one is in 10V from River's Edge Cutlery. It's kind of in between these two in terms of fit and finish and action, but I love me some 10V. 10V is sweet, so it's gonna stay for that. Oh yeah, and the M4 on this guy is really great. Next is the military in another knifewear exclusive. This one's in 204P. I bought this one secondhand. This is a sweet knife. It's a lot of knife. It's very lightweight for its size. The action is redonkulous. For a long time, or the side to side is perfect, and for a long time the front and back is. But in the last 6 months of use, it's developed some rock lock, just a tiny bit. But the lockup was amazing on this. I like the tip down carry on these. You just bust it out, flick it out, and go to work. I love this as a work knife, but I actually like shorter knives for work, I like what this has got going on, but it's just bigger than I need for a work knife, but it's a great knife. I like the 204P, I don't love it. So this one's not gonna stick around though, so that's another one out. Down to the Para 3. I've got, this is a Bento box exclusive, an M390. This is from the first run of them that they did. Came with a super stiff action. So did this 10V PM2. It is broken in fantastic. I much prefer this pin versus the screw on the Para 3. So to me, that's a feature. I prefer the Para 3 to the PM2 a lot. Both of them have these deep carry pocket clips. I don't like how much it sticks up, more because honestly, when I sit down, it kind of digs into my leg a little bit. But I don't care if there's that much sticking out in terms of looks. I'd 6 1/2 dozen the other. Great action on this one. These both came with good actions, just great side to side, great up and down. They're much more rounded than the PM2s or the military being better than the PM2. And the way it all comes together in terms of the handle and the size of the blade is really, really awesome. So I really like this blade. Because we're going to end in one knife is the goal, I'm going to remove this because of the next one. I know I like it more. This is a Cutlery Shop exclusive Para 3 with a blue and orange scale. I writ dyed the orange scale with black just to kind of give it not as like bam orange color, because it was like this but orange. I really like that kind of like worn in orange color it took on. It's in CPM Rex 45, and Rex 45 is sweet. I think 10V and Rex 45 are probably my two favorite steels. The way Spyderco did their Rex 45 is awesome. That's why I have another one here in Rex 45. It's like 65 to 67 Rockwell. It sharpens up really good, it deburrs really good, and it has such good edge retention because it's like decently alloyed, but very high hardness. But it's also very tough because it's not super high alloyed. So I really like Rex 45. So the action on this, it's not, the detent is softer, so I wish the detent was a little bit harder, but it is just epically buttery smooth. And great front to back, side to side, perfection. It is fantastic. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the skinny mod. I haven't tried it because I just don't know if I'd like it. Because when a knife is closed, I like it to be skinny like the 940. But when it's open, I don't think I like the skinny handle. So haven't done the skinny mod yet. But that guy is definitely in the running. Great action, great fit and finish, great steel, great handle. Oof. All right. Now I've got these two natives. I'll actually go in the reverse order. This is the first one I got. This is the first Rex 45 knife I got. So this is one of the burnt orange sprints. And look at that action. Ready? Whoop. When I first got it, it was actually so stiff that I didn't think I was going to like it. And I didn't want to have a Rex 45 knife I didn't like. So that's actually why I bought this. Is because I thought I was going to sell this one. But the way it broke in, oh man. And the lockup on these Native 5 lightweights is just unreal. Best lockup, whole table, these two Native 5s. Hands down, no question. Silky smooth, drop shut. They're awesome. Bank vault. These are, in my opinion, the best work knives you can buy, straight up. They're light. They're strong, they're inexpensive, they're so easy to use with and without gloves. They're just great. Great knives, great EDC knives too. I think this is a better all-arounder than even the Para 3. And it's a little bit thinner carrying the pocket. So I love the Native 5, but having said that, I know that in terms of EDC use, I prefer these other knives. This is close. I just know at the end of the day, this isn't gonna win it. So I'm gonna set that aside. This is a Native 5, wow, an LC200N. And basically I bought it because I had a siren, I have a siren in LC200N, and the way LC200N sharpens is unreal. It sharpens, it's the closest stainless steel I've found that sharpens like a carbon steel. So I bought this to have a pocket knife LC200N in a form factor I know that I already loved. That's why I didn't pick up I think it's the Pacific 2 in that green handle. Even though I knew that would have better geometry, I just know that how good the Native 5 is, and I know the compromises that I'll probably end up making with the Seki model. So went with this guy because this is like I'm gonna go do some shingling knife. I'm gonna beat the tar out of it, sharpen it in 2 minutes to hair popping sharp sort of a knife. But I bought it just to have a stainless, faster sharpening version of this. But I know it's definitely not gonna end up in my winner. LC200N's just not hard enough and full of carbide enough for me to love it. I love it for sharpening, but not its overall performance. Let's see. Next up, getting into some Benchmades. This is a custom Benchmade Crooked River. At the time, I was less interested in high carbide steel, so I actually elected to put S30V on this custom one. I'm probably gonna send it in and have them rebladed in M4 or S90V. I'm thinking S90, just because I don't have any knives in S90. I think it looks hot. I think the handle is very comfortable. I think that it carries great. I think that the action is good. Lockup, all there. But the grind on this thing is just thick with 2 C's. And because of that, I don't carry it. It just doesn't cut. It just does not cut well at all. So I don't carry it. And the edge cutting, the edge geometry just ruins this knife for me. So I'm probably gonna get some S90 on it and see if it performs more to my liking then. I'm probably also gonna do a red accent here and back here. I was looking for more of a classier knife. That's why I wanted the wood, but my son really likes red, so I think he might like that. So Crooked River, Mini Crooked River, that one's out. Next is another knifewear exclusive, 940 in the G10 with black and blue G10 and 20 CV. I also had this one thinned out by Murray Carter because my 940 had the same problem as the Mini Crooked River, is that it was like 27 thousandths behind the edge. at like 17 degrees per side, and it just wouldn't cut like I wanted it to. And for a long time, this was a knife that I could just put in my pocket, and I just wouldn't think about it. It would just cut the way I wanted it to. It would just hold the edge as long as I needed it to. It was so easy in and out of the pocket, slim, out of the way, good size, length of blade for me, really comfortable handle. It's got everything going for it except for the geometry was off. So I got it reground, and for one, the lighter blade made it so the action isn't quite as good, but it's still good, but not as good as it used to be. But nowadays, the 20CV, the way Benchmade seems to do it, is just a little underwhelming for me. It basically performs similar to S30V. So it's the 20CV leaves me wanting these days. But it slices amazing. Like these two reground knives slice better than everything else on the table, like not even close. So it should be probably my favorite. I'm going to be straight up with you, but it just doesn't have it anymore. The 20CV, I think, just isn't hitting it for me. Which is funny because I actually like this knife, but I know that one's out. Here's a Delica and V-Toku 2. I got it used. It had been, what's it called? Like acid etched. So that's why it looks really messed up, the blade. I thinned it out so you can see the shinier part of the blade to about 8 thousandths behind the edge at 13 degrees per side or so. I really like V-Toku 2. I had a stretch in it and I didn't like it right away. And the geometry wasn't like quite there on the stretch. And the stretch is a really bulky knife. It's very comfortable, good for getting work done, but I knew I wanted it back, but probably not in the stretch. So I got this guy. This is just a sprint run. I really like V-Toku 2. It sharpens amazing, holds the edge pretty dang well. And especially with this thinner geometry, you can get some work done. But this is also a knife that I can drop in my pocket and just kind of use, and be like, oh yeah, I've kind of forget that I like to change up my knife every once in a while. But even then, once again, it's just doesn't have the magic for me. And because I knew about this Delica, and this is actually the second Delica I ever owned, that's why I ended up with another one in K390, because I knew I liked 10V. Like K390's got everything going for it that I like. And jury's still out if I think that the heat treat on this knife is as good as on this knife, but I know it's close. It's close to as good. Still determining that. This is another one of those knives, same thing with this, where it can just end up in my pocket. I'm totally down for it. It has much better factory geometry than like all these knives actually, except for maybe the Microtech. And the steel seems pretty dang great. I'm going to keep that one. I'll move it up there. This is a custom Benchmade Barrage in M4 and G10 scales. My then girlfriend, now wife, got this for me many years ago for an anniversary, I think, or birthday. I don't remember what it was. And I've de-assisted it. I'm not going to open it because there's stuff on the blade. I just like to keep personal. This super smooth action. It's very heavy, but this knife represents almost perfection to me. The handle is super comfortable. The geometry on this blade is almost the same as a Bugout. You can see the stock thickness is about the same. So if you think a Bugout is, wow, they actually did okay on it from Benchmade, look out a mini Barrage. It's a whole different animal than the full-size Barrage, so they're not really a comparison. I really recommend a de-assisted mini Barrage. The M4 on it is great. It's the same, as far as I can tell, as this PM2. It performs really good. Benchmade Bugout. This is a knife I didn't think I would like. I bought a blue one when it first came out to replace a mini Griptilian, and I liked it. I didn't love it. The action just wasn't there. they somehow got screwed up. I ended up putting aluminum scales on that one and it cleaned it up. It was really good, but for some reason I liked that bug out so much, I bought the second one in OD green because I liked it so much. But then this one, I don't know, just the action, the colors, I don't know, but it just really spoke to me more. I've sold the other one and now I have this one. You know, this just represents a lot of elements that are really my speed. A handle that's fairly neutral and comfortable. It's thin. Thinness is evidently very important to me because that's why I used to have a Benchmade Super Freak in M4, and the thickness is just too much for me to appreciate. And same with the Griptilians. I like this smooth transition from blade to handle. I don't really feel like jimping ads. Spyderco's got it all freaking over, but I really like that. It's just a good knife. S30V shouldn't entertain me. Like, look at what's up there. I don't know. For some reason, I put up with it on this knife. I don't know why. Next is the Skeletool. I bought this, or I got it for my birthday, hoping it could potentially replace some of these in certain situations. And it does in certain situations, but it's not like I would just carry this daily. Like when I'm carrying this, I'm like, man, I wish I had a normal pocket knife. So I'm just gonna take that one out. Great tool, it has a lot of good uses. Next is a Microtech Ludt. This one is in XHP. Excuse me. Very snappy action. So these two knives here really got me thinking. I'm like, why do I love what these two knives have going on so much? So I started looking at blade thicknesses, geometries, but more so what I realized is that it actually matters a lot what the handle is like on a knife for me. I'm all about steel and geometry. Those are the two most important things to me. But as it turns out, if I don't like a handle, the blade just doesn't connect. It doesn't hit. So I started taking measurements of this distance here and the curvature of these and kind of looking at those elements. And taking all those into account, this knife stood out to me as something that would really jive. Being this distance here is 3.75 inches, so that my hand fits in there. I wish this part was further forward, but honestly, I do choke up on there sometimes, or when I'm bearing down, I go like this. But I like this straight up here with the curve at the back. I like how it's thick here and it tapers down. It makes for a really comfortable carry. It's fairly light. It looks good. I really like the crown spine on this. I like the blade profile. So that was another thing I was noticing is blade shapes that really spoke to me. I do like forward finger choils, but as much as I like them, I also dislike them. So it's a love-hate thing. But at the end of the day, if I were like, gun to my head, you got to pick one, I do prefer this style here of just a sharpening choil. And these Ludts come very thin behind the edge. You can see how this one side is much thicker than the other. You know, I thought I just jacked it up because I was just like trying to like get some work done on it really quick. But I've put it on the KME and I think this thing is ground asymmetrically. So you can see this side is nice and small bevel. This side is very large. So that's unfortunate. But I like the XHP on this. Seems to perform a little bit better than S30. It sharpens really good. But one thing I do not like about this knife, and I knew this going in, is I knew that I like to be able to do that and that. So not being able to one-hand close it is something I don't like, or at least doing it easily. And that gives me no extra fizz or fun factor. But I was like, I'll just see if I can get over that for all of the design elements that just are nailed for me. And they are, but It has a tiny bit of up and down play that it's developed. And I just really, and as a hard use knife, I really don't like the button lock. I'll accidentally hit it and loosen it up if I'm like really digging in at stuff. The button lock and the automatic just really kill this one for me. And I'm a little disappointed at the asymmetric grind, but that's not a huge deal. But it does have a very good geometry, good steel, good design, good execution. Well, fairly good execution, but this button lock, I just don't like button locks. So that one's out. It's close. I do carry it a lot just because so much of it's so good. Okay, we've whittled it down. Okay, let's see if we can go a little bit faster here. So if you look at this table, I'd say, let's kind of organize them. Well, I don't know. Well, let's just do this. I love the Bugout. It gets carried a lot, like a high percentage of the time, but S30V is still just lacking for me. It does take a really good edge and really good bite, but it's just not there. So I'm gonna put that one out. Between these two, I think K390 is good to go. I like the cutting geometry better on this Delica, but I've got this one down at 15 degrees per side and it still cuts pretty dang well. And when it comes to I'm grabbing a knife to get some work done, I'm gonna pick this one over the Delica. Yeah, it's funny. I like this knife better than this one, but I carry this knife more than I carry this one. That's tough. I don't think either of these ones are gonna end up in the end, even though this is my favorite steel, I think. But that's the thing, is there's some balance to this. I just think I gotta take those two out. Just because, I don't know. I just don't know. Those are definitely my favorite steels, but I gotta take them out. We're down to these ones. This is another knife that I just put in my pocket and I forget it, but the Paramilitary 2 platform is just not ideal for me. I have 3 of them, and I really like how with that thin spine at the front, you can do like cut an apple with that without splitting it, but it's still got some robustness. I have no problem with a thin tip, but it's just not one that I gravitate towards, especially with those uncomfortable handles. Okay, down to these ones. This is hard. This is hard. I think in theory, this should be my favorite knife. Perfect handles for me. I have had to knock down all of this like weird jimping that Spyderco does. I took a Dremel to it. Much more comfortable that way. It's the best slicer I own. It's in a great steel. It sharpens good, it holds its edge good, it's tough. It's got amazing action. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I'll say is the Manix 2s, great action every time. Every time, great action. Ooh, ball lock is just spectacular. A nightmare to take apart, but this is what happened. Before, this was like the perfect work knife for me, but after I got it thinned out, I don't like it for the heavier duty tasks, but then the handle portion of it is more work knife than EDC knife for me. So it's like I've stuck it in between the wrong worlds. It's got the perfect blade for EDC, perfect blade for work, but those two things are mashed together and it just doesn't come together perfectly for me. So dang, if I had the pair of 3 in this though. Okay, now we're here. I adore the Manix 2 lightweights. I really wish they were not pin construction. I really like Maximate, but I don't love it yet. And the big thing on this guy is the geometry is off. You can see when I bought the second hand, it had also been patinaed. So you can see how there's different colorations here. I've kind of ground it down on a stone to try to like thin out that transition a little bit. I don't know if it's really done anything in terms of additional performance. So it's just a little bit too thick, and it's a little too big in the pocket. That's the other thing. If it wasn't so big in the pocket, maybe it would do it. If it had better geometry, maybe that would do it. This is a really good knife. You can see it's in my top 3. So now we're down to it. The last 2. So I love the Para 3. I love Rex 45. But this does come with Para 3 geometry, which means from the factory, 20 thousandths behind the edge at 17 degrees per side. So I'll put it down to 15, and you're past your 21, 22 thousandths. And this one I've been experimenting with it. It's actually at about 12 degrees per side. So it actually cuts pretty good. Action's good. I like the looks of it. It's comfortable. I like the way it carries. I like getting work done with it. But when I'm just going in my everyday life, I prefer the Barrage. The M4 isn't as good as K390 and 10V. It's not as good as Rex 45 for me, but it is good enough. It is good enough. When I use it, it doesn't leave me wanting. When I sharpen it, it doesn't leave me wanting. Gosh, I really wish I could open up the blade. I should have like taped off the stuff on there, the engraving, so I could show you. But it's got better cutting geometry than the Para 3 does. And since it has similar things about this knife that I like about it, is that having this exposed heel makes it easier to sharpen, but also like when you're using a knife, odds are your tip is going to get really dull, and having access to this heel for like a secondary knife tip is really useful for me. And this area is just always super sharp, and it's more usable in this form factor versus with the finger choil. So I love and I hate finger choils. I like them when I'm using this part, but the increased capability I get out of having this area available is just worth it for me. So yeah, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier than I prefer, but you know what? This is the singularly most comfortable handle of all of these knives because it is so thick, and it's not overly thick in the pocket. Carries great with that deep pocket carry clip on there. The action is buttery smooth, especially if you leave the assist on it and use it like that. It breaks it in really fast, and then you just get this awesomely smooth action after that. So yeah, that's my number 1 right there. And not only that is it has no jimping. It doesn't have, here, I'll just do this. So you can see how this isn't a smooth transition, which is a bummer for me. It's actually made by Osborne. It's an Osborne design. It's kind of neat, but I wish it did. That's a knock on it too. But it doesn't have unnecessary jimping. And yeah, it's just the right size. This is like the perfect distance right there for my hand minimum right there. And yeah, it's just great. That's my very favorite EDC blade. Sorry for the very long video, but that's all I got for you. I recommend you check out one of these. These can be had very affordably in the basic version, and they're really great. They're way underrated. So thank you for watching. Have a good one, guys. Bye.